What's up guys, it's Volka and welcome to the Blast Train Marksman guide. So in this video we're gonna go over the whole build on max roll and explain everything to you that you need to know about the new build, skills, passives, gear, idols, all that stuff, blessings, everything. So let's get into it. Alright, and how do you level this build? This has been asked many times. So you basically click here, Marksman leveling guide. It's gonna open the Marksman leveling guide for you, and if you actually take a look at the leveling guide, it's basically the same build. So what you do is until level 50 you use puncture and to get the bleed buff from it, and then you basically play this build after. So even before getting Reign of Winter you can already, you know, basically play the same build. So it's a full leveling guide made by Terek, so really great leveling guide. So, and really easy to transition into the end game build. You know, it's gonna be the same thing basically, so really great. It's gonna be really strong and fast for leveling, so that's gonna be the way you level up this. Right, so the full guide is on max roll. The link for that is in the description, so full detailed written guide, you can check that out. So let's go into the skills here. So Explosive Trap is gonna be our way of proccing Detonating Arrow, and it's gonna be the main damage skill of this build. So how this works, it's a throwing attack normally, and we spec into Blast Train here to convert it into bow attack. So it completely scales with bow after you take this node. Then we get the arrow traps node to proc detonating arrows, and then we can get, you know, we basically need to get the minus mana cost here to actually use the skill properly. And this node gives us Dusk Shroud, so what it does is glancing blow chance and flat dodge rating, so really good. You basically get those stacks when you detonate or when you hit with Explosive Trap, so really nice. And then we want to spec all of this stuff here, the conversion, just so we get more traps thrown per use. So this actually increases your traps thrown, so really good. So basically more procs for the Detonating Arrow. Reduces our damage of the Explosive Trap, but that doesn't really matter because we're basically focusing on the DA damage instead. Then you can get like extra trap drop chance here, so you basically have a chance to drop an extra trap, so pretty good. And if you have enough max mana and mana regen, you can spec into this node here, which does increase your mana cost quite a bit, but basically gives you a lot of DPS. So on this build, building mana and mana regen is quite important. So like the mana cost of the trap is high always, even if you don't spec this. So that's something you need to keep in mind. And yeah, for Detonating Arrow, so this is gonna be procced mainly with the Explosive Trap, but you will need to use this manually sometimes for mana, especially depending on your gear. So the better gear you have, of course, the less you need to use it. And eventually when you have enough mana regen, you don't need to manually use it at all. But especially in the beginning, this has to be manually casted for mana. So basically we need to spec into this node here to disable the mana cost, because basically it would be impossible to use otherwise. So this disables mana cost and gives you mana gain on hit. This mana gain on hit only applies on direct cast, so it doesn't work with the proc. This also disables the explosion basically. I mean, it's basically 15% chance only to explode, so this skill normally has like has the arrow itself and then an explosion, so now it only has a 50% chance to explode. Doesn't really matter, I mean, we have to take this node. But we still take 1 point here for the more explosion damage and area. I mean, 1 point, might as well take it. And then we basically convert it to cold, because we want to be scaling fully cold and we want to have freeze chance and stuff. And you get cool stuff here like minus elemental res on enemies. So this also works for, you know, traps and everything, like all your damage, the icicles from the bow, all that stuff. So really good. And this is actually crazy strong, this node, minus movement speed. So when you have slow and chill and this, they really like multiply off of each other. It's really, really good crowd control. So this on top of the freeze that you can have, just crazy stuff. And then this is just like, you know, more damage. This also gives more damage for the arrow itself, so not only the explosion, which is really good. And this is just more arming time. So I mean, you get more explosion hit damage per second, and you basically like taking advantage of these nodes is easier when the arming time is longer. It's not a huge deal to even spec into this, but yeah. And this here, crit vulnerability, so we don't need to spec crit vul on 3 at all really, so just 1 point there, and 5 points here is basically, you have basically 10 stacks of crit vul always, and you even get some crit multi for the arrow itself. And yeah, the rest of the skills are very simple, like rogue stuff. So shift for movement. You get the usual stuff like invulnerability while shifting, so you can't die easy. And then you get dodge rating per dex. So this is a lot of dodge. So basically like capped dodge when you after shifting, when you have a lot of dexterity. So pretty nice. And then this movement speed buff here. So a lot of movement speed from this. Shurikens. So we basically use shurikens for tankiness and like utility and stuff. So we proc it through shift, so you don't need to have shurikens on your skill bar at all. So we only get it from the shift, and it's gonna be always up basically, as long as you have a bit of cooldown on shift, which you will have. You get shurikens here after shifting. And then I do like to go for this cleanse ailments node here. You don't have to go for it, but I mean, it's actually really strong, because basically you don't need to have cleanse on your belt, and like ailments are really deadly. So with this and the smoke bomb ailment cleanse, you basically never have ailments on you. So really nice. And I actually like the distance as well, so you get some extra distance on the shift. But that is optional. You can just go for the cooldown as well if you want, but I like to go for this. Yeah, shurikens, like I said, basically tankiness. So we get a lot of increased armor from this. So 5 shurikens is gonna be 150% increased armor, and it's gonna be always up with the shift as long as you keep shifting, basically. So that's really nice. And then this is actually extremely strong node as well. So you immobilize enemies who hit you, basically, or who hit the shurikens. So against like melee enemies, well, they're basically rendered just useless. So it's kind of like an extra freeze or root. So that's really good. Yeah, smoke bomb, lots of extra utility, tankiness. So silver shroud is gonna be the main thing. So we basically dodge the next hit, and then get cleanse ailments here. Crimson shroud from some less damage over time taken. You get immunity with this backflip. So basically another dash, another immunity, and you get slow on the enemies with this. There's just like duration area, some dusk shrouds from this here. So lots of nice tankiness and utility. And then for the passives, so classic rogue stuff on the rogue tree. So getting attack speed, getting the damage taken while moving, and then the haste on hit. And you want to spec 4 points here for the mana gain on hit. So with this and the mana arrow node on DA, you get 60 mana on hit. And yeah, this also only works with direct cast, so once again doesn't work with the DA procs from the trap. And if you don't need this, so if you have a lot of gear, basically a lot of max mana regen, you can of course unspec these points if you don't need them. And for the falconer tree, we only take 5 points just to get the explosive trap, and these are actually pretty strong points, so you even get more damage with haste, pretty cool. But yeah, just 5 points to get the trap unlocked, and then 8 points into attack speed, HP on hit. So this sustain here with this one here, so HP on crit as well. So this is gonna be enough. You don't need any leech or anything like that. So this is gonna be enough HP sustain. And then 8 points into dexterity. So the dodge rating debuff is quite nice, but you only need like 3 points for that. So the dexterity is just, for Morning Frost, basically more damage. And these are just travel points, 1. You can go more points into concentration if you want, or the cooldown. I mean, it's optional, but basically the main thing is to get the movement speed here, because movement speed is always nice. And you will most of the time have this up even without the cooldown. So it has a 4-second cooldown, so if you get hit you lose concentration, and normally it's always up basically. And crit multi, crit avoidance, easy stuff. And then a silver shroud here, so you basically proc this arrow storm like every now and then you get silver shroud when you proc it, so you can dodge the next hit. So this goes really nicely with the smoke bomb shroud, so you can kind of like time those. You get hit and you consume 1 silver shroud, and then you get another stack and you get hit again and you dodge again. So you can kind of like play tactically with that. And then 4 points into sharpshooter. So this is gonna be always maxed. It's really easy to, you're gonna always have max stacks on this, so 10 stacks. So it gives you a lot of increased bow damage, and then this gives you armor shred and stun chance with that buff as well. Then the max mana. So yeah, once again, max mana regen, really valuable for this build. You could go for this here, so Detonating Arrow Explosion Area, but since we don't really explode much at all on the DA, it's really not really worth it, but if you want to, you can drop 2 points here. And then 5 points into crit chance, and then crit multiplier and HP on crit. So 75 crit chance and 75% crit multi. Because these are always gonna be up. Basically, this adds to your bow mastery. So you have these and the attack speed from the actual mastery bonus going on. And then the rest of the points, 5 here to get the movement speed. We don't care about the increased damage here, of course. Melee and throwing doesn't work. And then max this out for the dexterity and cleansing blow. And then the last points are gonna be, you're gonna be going back to the rogue tree here and getting the dexterity and the cleansing blow. So getting a lot of dexterity for Morning Frost, maximizing the damage. And then for the gears, so getting Rain of Winter is gonna be your first thing you get. So this can drop from the Herod boss in Age of Winter timeline. So even in normal monolith you can get this. You don't need to go to Empowered. So this should be your first item that you farm. Really easy to get, so no worries there. And the item bases on the starter planner will be different from the advanced and onwards. So basically these are going to be lower level than the one in the advanced one. So we're getting the endurance base, mana regen base here on the body armor, and then just some resistance here. And these will be quickly replaced with the other stuff. So this basically gives you, this base gives you base crit, so it's much better than the starting base one. And then, you know, getting Morning Frost, so basically gives you flat cold damage per dexterity, and also minus physical and cold rest per dexterity. So we need to build a lot of physical and cold rest to counteract the downside, but gives you a lot of damage. So we're stacking like a ton of dexterity, like 100 and more of dexterity, so it gives you a lot of damage. And you can even get more damage thanks to this node here on trap. So actually detonating arrows get even more flat damage per dexterity. So really nice, like stacking, basically really nice. And then getting Peak of the Mountain for the crit chance. So a lot of increased crit, extremely easy to get from the Lightless Arbor dungeon boss. So you can even get it on T1 dungeon, but highest drop rate in T4. So really easy to get and gives you a lot of crit chance. We don't care about the leech because, you know, we don't need leech. We have the HP on crit and HP on hit. And on the blessings, we can go for crit multi. You can also go for Void Dress here, but the idea is that you eventually move on to Orion's Eye, so you don't need Void Dress anymore. So crit multi, and then you get Void Dress instead on the amulet, and we get all rest blessing as well. So this also gives you Void Dress and all other rest, of course. So really good. And then the physical resistance helps with the Morning Frost downside, and then armor and the maximum mana. So this is really strong for damage. Basically allows you to spam much more. And the idols, just HP idols, elemental res. Of course you can go for resistance here as well on the suffix if you need. Throne of Ambition, so drops from the Stolen Lands monolith boss. Quite easy to get as well. You know, just I mean, it is a rare drop from the boss, but so you should be doing this in Empowered, but it is not hard to get. And gives you more, so multiplicative cold damage and multiplicative armor per stack of ambition. So really good for bossing, especially. So you can get 20 stacks and lots of damage and tankiness. And yeah, for the end game gear, so getting the Orion's Eye, so basically converts all void damage taken to fire, so you don't need void resistance with this. So then especially we can just go for the crit multi blessing, and then you get a lot of max mana and less fire damage taken. So up to 15% less fire damage taken, so which also applies to the void damage that is now fire. So really great. And then you can combo this with the Prism Wraps, which give you 30% less elemental damage taken. So this with the Orion's Eye means 45% less fire damage taken, which is also minus void damage taken, and then lightning and cold also getting the Prism Wraps damage reduction. So really nice combo, and you don't really need like much from the chest. You only want to get the Explosive Trap affix on it. So before you have the LP Prism Wraps with the legendary potential, just use a rare. when you get Orion's Eye, I mean, just slap it on the moment you get it, but you don't need Prison Wraps to use Orion's Eye, for example. But it is nice, of course, and I mean, this item is common, but you know, getting LP on it is not. It is a bit rare, at least. But this chest is like just fine for this. You don't need to go Prison Wraps. And you actually do more damage with the rare or like exalted chest as well. You know, you get the easy crit chance and stuff, but this is a lot of tankiness. And then getting just LP on stuff, you know, getting max mana dexterity. So getting dexterity everywhere you can, exalted if you can, you know, and of course trying to get some HP as well, getting the resistance. And you try to not go like minus 100% physical res and cold res, so you know, build your resistances. And of course mana regen is gonna be you know, it's quite important. So you can seal mana regen, which is really like efficient. Of course you can also just use a D5, that's also fine. But if you can seal, especially if you can seal a higher tier than 1 mana regen, it's really like really strong for the seal. And then getting the crit chance on the bow is quite important. So this basically allows you to actually scale your crit chance. It's not too hard to get, so just farm the bow, get it with 1 LP, and get the affix to drop. You know, you can even slam it with a T5 crit chance affix. It's a common, it's like a common bow, so it's not too hard to get with LP. But you know, ideally get exalted affix. And then on best in slot, we also include this unique quiver. It's not required for this, but you know, you can easily get this is such a low LP item, really common. So you know, get like 4 LP and just slap those stats on. But until 10, you can just use the rare or the exalted one, because you can even seal slow here. So you basically, if you go for this quiver, you kind of need to get slow on the bow then, and this is gonna be hard to get. So rather you know, if you don't have 4 LP here and stuff like that, if you don't have slow on the bow, you know, just go for the exalted. And then we also have the freeze variant. So this basically revolves around this node here in Detonating Arrow. So you get freeze rate, flat freeze rate per cold resistance. So you can, you know, get like 500% free cold res, I mean, or even 600% depending. So that's gonna be just like a massive amount of freeze rate, because this goes, you know, you can allocate 5 points into it. So 5 flat freeze rate per cold res. So if you have like, you know, 500, that's gonna be 2.5k flat freeze rate, which is crazy, like absolutely crazy. This node here, which converts the skill to cold, is only 60, so you get 2,500 from this one. So, and even more, you know, depending on your cold res, maybe 3k. And basically we use these gloves, which also give us ward retention per uncapped cold res, so even more stacking basically, and then ward gain of freeze. So every time you freeze stuff, you get a ward, and you know, we get stuff like ward gain on kill as well to kind of like you know, amplify the ward aspect of it. And then we completely ignore HP on this setup actually, so we just go for ward and the freeze. So that kind of like frees up the affixes for all the resistance we need, and you know, we can go for like exalted reduced bonus damage taken, and you get a lot of armor from that affix as well, so really great. And you kind of want to get LP on many things like the gloves and stuff. Like it's more of a high investment setup for sure, but it will work even with like lower gear. You don't need to have like insane amount of cold rest to actually freeze. Oceron is gonna be really important for this, so it is a rare item, kind of hard to get with LP as well because it's rare, but really great. So you get freeze rate per stack of chill, and you can even get some more damage and stuff. So basically we stack cold rest for the flat freeze rate, and then we stack like multipliers and increases for that freeze rate to like really make it massive. And yeah, you're gonna freeze like bosses and stuff, and you know, everything in the game. It's like a really cheesy setup. So yeah, you can go for that as well. And the idols are just fully armor and the cold dress, so kind of interesting. So yeah, that's the build. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see more gameplay of this build, I have the full showcase video with a lot of gameplay and like boss kill and stuff like that for this. So you can check that out in the description. And in the future, I will also play this build, in 1.0 launch and stuff like that. I'm gonna, get this to high corruption and get like all this like crazy gear and stuff. So then I can show you guys the full potential of the build at like high corruption and arena and everything. So look forward to that, and yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.